The older I get, the truer this becomes, especially the part about being unsettled. I doubt anybody in this room knows where this place is. It's actually in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a long-term parking garage called Executive Travel and Park. It's located just past the airport. My wife and I today rode around a little bit this area before we came here, and there must be about 300 of these places around Atlanta. But this one is really the model of efficiency. You drive in this place, you hand them your keys, you give them your bag, and you hop on their bus. And they take you right to the airport about 5 minutes away. Total time, about 7 to 10 minutes. On the return trip, you call them when your plane has landed, and by the time you have walked from the plane to the ground transportation area, the bus is there to pick you up, takes you back to your car, which is there, running, warmed up, and ready for you to get in and drive away. And that's a big difference between the usual long-term parking experience that I've had. I have no idea who the person is who started Executive Travel and Park, but I'm confident that he or she has became frustrated with waiting, got tired of the way things had always been, and decided to make a new and better way. When you spend 30 years of your life as a general surgeon, you become well acquainted with inefficiency and frustration. Most of the time, it's either you or the patient who's having to wait, and sometimes that wait is legitimate. Other times, it's absolutely positively senseless waiting, I call it. But there's a good side to senseless waiting and frustration because it can be very motivating. About 5 years ago, I was sitting in my dentist's office waiting for my appointment, and I picked up a magazine and began reading a one-page article about a guy who had a skin lesion on his leg that he wanted taken off. It had just somehow begun to bother him. He thought, no problem. I'll just go to my doctor and have him take it off. Probably cost me around $100. I'll just pay cash and get it done. But his doctor told him he wasn't equipped to take that off. He'd have to go to a dermatologist. And when he went to the dermatologist, two things happened. One, they laughed out loud when he told them he wanted to pay cash. And two, it wasn't $100, it was 4 visits and $1,400. He was shocked and frustrated, like I hope you are. And at the end of it all, he still wondered why he couldn't have gotten it done in fewer visits for a lot less money. When I finished that article, I remember thinking to myself, I'm just as frustrated as that guy is. Because for the longest time, I had been thinking the same thing. Why can't we get these things done simply and efficiently? That was the day I started thinking about a clinic that could make that happen, and that was the day that I became unsettled, as Ralph Waldo Emerson said. I started reading everything I could find about clinics, a lot from the website from this organization, that take cash and about direct patient care. There's a lot out there, but almost all of it is about the medical side of things and not the surgical side. There were prices for earaches and sore throats and bronchitis, but not much out there for things like skin cancers or lipomas. So my challenge was to design a place that would be like that Travel and Park place in Nashville, a clinic that was better not just in one way, but in many ways. We all know the problems in healthcare today. So for instance, if you need a better place to go to save time, you really wouldn't go to the emergency room because the average wait in an emergency room is 4 hours. But you might want to come to QuikSurg because the average time spent at QuikSurg, start to finish, is 45 minutes. Likewise, a better place to go to save money, this is a no-brainer. $2,000, the average cost of a visit to the emergency room for a laceration repair. $300, the average cost of a visit to QuikSurg. Actually, these figures need to be a little bit revised because they're a little bit old. The figure on the left needs to go up probably at least $500, and the figure on the right needs to come down about $100. These are the 12 things that we do at QuikSurg in my clinic. From skin tag removal to excision of skin cancers, and it needs a little bit of explanation. You can see that the least expensive thing we do is wart removal and excision of moles and skin tags. We don't charge $150 per skin tag. We try to lump them together, probably anywhere from 1 to 20 skin tags for $150. The most expensive thing we do are lipomas, because lipomas can be a little bit tricky at times, and they can get quite large and semi-complicated anyway. The average price overall, over the last 3.5 years that we've been in existence, is just a bit under $200 per patient. Time and money are two big things that are easily solved, but these two things we think are just as important: quality work and kind service. In our second year of existence, we had our patients all fill out a post-op survey, and it was just pick the thing that you like best about QuikSurg. And here's the categories: seeing patients in a timely manner as soon as possible, posting prices for procedures with no hidden costs, the kindness and professionalism of the staff, the fact that you could see a board-certified surgeon, and not dealing with insurance. We thought those were all the most important things about QuikSurg, and people had trouble filling out the survey because they said, well, we think all these are important. How can I just pick one? But we said, no, you have to pick one. So just with a show of hands, how many people think number one was number one in the survey? How many people think number two? Number three? Number four? And number five? You guys are smarter than I was. Number three, the kindness and professionalism of the staff, which prompted, of course, my staff to ask for a raise, and I said, when you run the place, then you can give yourself a raise. Let me tell you a few things about our clinic. We opened our clinic in February of 2015. We're in a retail shopping center. Just to the left of us is Great Clips, and just behind us is the public supermarket. If you ever come to visit us, I'll give you a tour. It takes about 30 seconds to tour a 1,000-square-foot building. I have two employees, a nurse and my office manager, who is also my wife. We are open from 9 to 5 on Monday through Friday. Open on Saturday by appointment only. We take cash, check, money order, and HSA cards. We see all consultations for free. We don't overbook. We try to give our best to each patient because their time and attention are important to us. We call our clinic QuikSurg, but we're never in a hurry. We are considered a level 3 surgery center in Tennessee, which means we are essentially a doctor's office, and we do local anesthesia only. We don't do conscious sedation. We don't do anything related to general surgery, although I've had a few patients that could have used general surgery. I had to decide what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do when I opened QuikSurg. I don't do ganglion cysts. I don't do pilonidal cysts. I don't do hemorrhoids, and I don't do vein ablation, all things which could be done under local anesthesia. I'm not a spa, so I don't do facial creams, Botox, or massages. Not that there's anything wrong with those things, it's just not what I do. I've had to do things I never did as an operating room surgeon. I had to figure out what each procedure would cost the patient, and to do that I had to figure out what each procedure would cost me. I've had to be a businessman in the community, go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, and other networking get-togethers, which is hard for an introvert like me. I have to market myself and my concept. It's way more of a deal than I thought it was ever going to be, but I can tell you that my heart is clearly in this. I am not suffering from burnout, and I see no burnout on the horizon. I think I'm just too old for burnout. How successful have I been? Well, the answer to that question is it depends. It depends on your definition of success, because if your definition of success is making a fortune with this kind of a thing, then no, I'm not there yet. If success is loving to get up and go to the clinic every morning, shutting the door each night with no late night phone calls or trips to the hospital, which I did a lot as a general surgeon, then you can call this a success, because I do. This is a graph. Looks like climate change, I realize, but it's a graph of the last 15 months. It's been a slow but steady climb the last 15 months. The first month in 2015, we took in exactly $170. And I didn't say we made $170, I said we took in $170. Thankfully, it's picked up since then, and we're starting to see the beginnings of an uptick, as you can see, in March of this past March 2018, because I am trying to thrive and not just survive. I want to end with a story about and I'm about to show you a picture of a young man, and if you know who he is, please don't shout it out. You'll have your chance to shout it out here in just a second. Anybody know who this guy is? If you know, just raise your hand. Good. This is his high school graduation picture. This man is now 70 years old. When he was a sophomore in high school, he had a problem. He had an entirely new idea that he thought was great, but everybody around him, including those he loved and trusted, told him, "That will never work. Just stick to what works and forget your new and better way." But on a sunny spring day in 1963 in a small town called Grants Pass, Oregon, this 16-year-old kid changed the world. I should know. I was there. I saw it happen. I was 12 years old, and I was just minding my own business, riding my bike home from a baseball game, when I passed the high school and ran into my dad, who was coming from the Rotary Club track meet. When he saw me, he made it a point to stop me, and he said, "Dave, go over to the track and watch one of the high jumpers, because he runs up to the bar and he flies over the bar backwards." So who is this guy? Dick Fosbury, the originator of the Fosbury Flop. That day, the track and field world changed, even though Fosbury only jumped 5 feet 10 inches and didn't even come close to winning the track meet. But it was the first time he had ever done the Fosbury Flop in competition. At that time, he just seemed like a novelty to the local people of Southern Oregon. He went to college at Oregon State University, and at first he wasn't even offered a scholarship. At Oregon State University, the coaches still tried to talk him out of doing the Fosbury Flop. Why wouldn't they? They certainly couldn't coach him. The problem was he just kept improving. In fact, he improved so much that he qualified for the United States Olympic team, and in 1968, in Mexico City, he won the gold medal with a jump of 7 feet 4 inches. 18 inches higher than he jumped the day I saw him the first time he ever jumped in competition. So I want to show you kind of a progression of high jumping. This is the way high jumping was initially done. There he goes. This is called the Western roll. You don't see this anymore because nobody does this anymore, because you can't jump as high as you can with the Fosbury Flop. So just run up to the bar and throw your leg over and see how high you can go. This is Dick Fosbury at the United States gold medalist at Mexico City. Cleared that by a mile, 7 feet 4 inches. That was the highest Dick Fosbury ever jumped in his life, before or after. The current world record is 8 feet 1/4 inch, set in 1993 by a Cuban who is a Fosbury flopper. I can't even jump off the ground 8 feet 1/4 inch. Dick Fosbury was a guy who was frustrated with the status quo. We've heard that before. So he figured out a better way. Executive Travel and Park figured it out too. So did QuikSurg, and so did my other panelists and the people at AAPS. So I finish with this quote from a man I greatly admire, George Washington Carver. "When you do the common things in life in an uncommon way, you will command the attention of the world." Thank you so much.